Welcome, everybody, to Creating Communities, the podcast that I started as an involvement in our guests' lives today. So, we're going to have a segment on creating communities called John's Journey. And it's about my nephew, John, special needs, and his mom, addressing every parent's fear. What will happen to my child when I'm gone? And so, as we know, the three goals of creating communities are creating a social network for special needs people after they graduate from high school, because there is nothing left after they graduate from high school. Their friends are gone, their routine is gone, and now they're on their own. We also want to establish creating a residential community more elevated than what is available, but John is going into what is available because that's all there is right now. We're going to describe what that is. And then lastly, approaching employment in a completely different way. Yes, there are employment opportunities for certain people, but they don't really address the skills and talents of the special needs person. And as we all know, they have talents too. You just have to learn how to define them and then market them. But today's episode is our first installment of John's journey, parenthetically, Jeri's journey. So, Jeri is my sister, Jeri. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And John, thank you, because this is in honor of you.
Thank, thank you too.
Yes, this is John's first time ever speaking on a microphone. So we're going to
Yeah.
get him used to just relaxed, casual conversation. That is very interesting. Jeri,
Yes.
when was John diagnosed and what was his diagnosis?
He was diagnosed when he was 3. He was in primary school or preschool. The teacher said, I think that you need to go to Children's Hospital and have John tested because, we're seeing differences. And things he could not do age appropriately, etc. And so we did. We went to Children's Hospital and we had him completely evaluated. And what they found out is that on the back left side of his brain, there was brain damage. Now, we couldn't, it is in our family. Uncle Nicky, Cassie, even on Dad's side, Uncle Sam, they all had
Right,
something.
right.
So it shouldn't have
And then
been.
even our aunts they had children,
Oh,
right? Josephine. Yeah, so
oh
we have that.
yes. Yeah. So
Yes.
it's like really, really in our family. It's just all over our family. So yeah, so that's the initial diagnosis. And then we had him in regular school. His teachers were wonderful. They wanted him, they loved him, they did their best. But when he got to be in 6th grade, I wanted him in a private school. I wanted him in a school for learning disabled. And in order to do that, I had to go back and get yet another evaluation done, which I did. And, it was determined that, yes, he was learning disabled and that he would qualify for this school. And so that's what we did. And we started.
Jeri, was the IQ important? Where are those determination points?
I don't want to get into that right this minute,
Okay.
but yes, that was a determination. But basically, what they wanted, it had to be neurological damage.
Mm,
It had to be neurological, and it was. That was determined with the initial examination.
okay. Now, let me say something, and then I'm going to turn this over to you, John. Because I've been very involved in John's life,
Mhm.
we are connected by music and shopping, are we not, John?
Yes.
And John's 39. Um, Jeri's my sister, so I've been very connected to her life all my life. And because we're close, I was part of this journey watching John learn. And John, I just have to say, I am blown away by what you taught yourself in your interest in progressing. Do you remember, was it in high school or after you graduated from high school that you started cataloging birds and fish and you could tell us all? Go ahead.
Yes. I used to watch a lot of documentaries on birds and animals and fish because I liked it a lot.
Can I interject one little story here of when he was in kindergarten?
Sure.
He was in kindergarten. He was down in our basement in the home where we lived at that point watching television. And he was watching some sea life
Yeah.
documentary. And he said to me, I said, "What is that on the screen?" And he said, "Oh, that's a nudibranch." And I just, what? And yes, it was. Never heard of
Yeah.
such a thing, but you knew.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, John? I mean, that was a long time ago.
Um, there, uh, not really.
Well, where did he get that from?
From the television
The
documentary.
television, the
He just
He,
document.
remembered it,
yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
tough word. Go ahead, John.
It's yeah, a tough. I the it was very a tough word, but when they repeated it 3 or 4 times, and I got it.
Mhm.
Okay, so, and seriously, even more amazing than that, and that's pretty darn amazing, was your memory that you could literally recite this list of birds, of fish, mammals. I mean, we couldn't.
Nah.
No, but that was a skill and talent that you had to also was an interest that you had.
Mm. Yes.
It was a cheaper interest than buying clothing, but we'll get to that later. No, that was
Yeah.
an easier interest to have. Okay, so you're a very sociable person, John.
Yes.
People like you. And on your own, you talk to people.
Hmm.
You're not afraid of people.
No.
You help people. You
Yes, I do.
what gives you pleasure out of helping people?
Um, it makes me feel good because it like I have challenges, and to make somebody feel good, it kind of makes me feel really good about myself more than I do of myself sometimes.
So when you help somebody, is that like a success to you?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying something extremely incredible right now. And that is, and I just heard somebody talk about this because we have the wildfires here in Los Angeles. And there's a gentleman who lost his home in the Pacific Palisades, and he runs a food truck. And he said the only way for him to deal with the tragedy of losing his home was to help other people.
Mm.
Yes.
And that's a very advanced way of thinking, know it or not. Not everybody's that in touch with themselves emotionally. Most people withdraw, they get angry, they get upset, they blame. But for you, John, to be able to just make yourself feel better by helping other people, it's a really advanced way of thinking.
Yes.
Are you advanced?
Yes.
Yes, you actually are much more advanced than you might even give yourself credit for. It's pretty amazing. But you worked on it. Okay, so let's talk about the two skills that are necessary generally to live on your own are reading and counting,
Encounter.
math and English. And
Yes.
so, John, those are two struggles that you have. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But I was talking to you one day a few years ago. Grandma was still living, our mother, and all of a sudden you were using vocabulary words that blew me away. I thought I was talking to somebody my own age. which is much older than you. Could you tell everybody how you taught yourself vocabulary words?
Okay. Well, I used to watch, my favorite rapper is Tupac. So I used to watch his interviews and I used to put the caption on, and every time he had a interesting word to say, I would I would memorize what the word was that he actually said. And it kind of like really like when he used to talk, he used to draw me into wanting to learn bigger words than I was taught and stuff like that.
I can tell by the look on your mother's face that she
Oh,
did
no.
not know this.
She didn't know that.
Did you?
Yeah. That's why I wanted him to share this
Shoot.
because he's done some things for himself that were highly evolved and he wants to help himself, which I respect totally. So I did ask him, Jerry, one day we were talking on the phone, like we talk at least once a week, sometimes more than that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this one day, he was using these vocabulary words correctly, mind you. And I said, John, what happened? And he told me this is what he did. And I think also, John, when you were buying more CDs,
Yeah.
rather than ordering iTunes, the new way of listening,
Yes.
that you looked at the lyrics on the liner notes
Yes.
and listened to the music
Yes. Absolutely.
and built your vocabulary that way. Go ahead.
Huh.
Yes.
What a good idea.
I did that.
Huh. Good for you. Who knew?
Well, I mean this, and you picked a rapper, by the way, that is enormously intelligent.
Yes. I really like him a lot.
Yes. Okay. So Jerry is divorced, and she's been the primary parent in this relationship, although John, you have maintained a close relationship with your dad,
Yes.
right? But Jerry's been the day to day,
Hmm.
the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations, the medical. So, Jerry and John, um, diabetes has been, I guess, the biggest challenge in your life, John, type 1 diabetes,
Yes.
which requires insulin.
Yes.
And you and your mom work that out. Say what you do while your mom's at work. You may be at work too. How do you handle the doses of insulin throughout the day?
Um, we usually have like at lunchtime, I usually take like six if it's good, but that's always what I take at lunch. And then if I feel low, I always t test it first. Then I get my juice box. Then if it's like 39, which it was one time, I get my juice boxes and I time it on the microwave. And then whenever it goes up, then I'm good and stuff like that. Because I can actually feel it when it's low. Like,
Does it feel different when it's low as opposed to high?
yes, because it like makes it. I can feel like cold sweat,
Mm.
shaky. Um, like, like shakes and everything like that, basically.
So the interesting thing to me, and I really haven't asked either of you this yet, and that is, okay, so your challenge is with numbers, reading numbers, understanding numbers, but somehow you do read and understand the numbers when you're testing your blood sugar.
Yes.
How come? How is that different?
Um, because when I'm because I'm used to when I prick my finger, I'm used to seeing the numbers, and that's how I can tell.
So what's a normal number?
Like a normal number would be like 90 to 175.
No, 150.
Oh, sorry, 150.
All right.
Yeah.
We're in the range.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I find that interesting. So I'm asking these questions and setting this up for what we're really going to talk about, and that is the move away. So with Jeri, she's not dead, she's here. And so every mother's fear is what's going to happen to my child, special needs when I'm gone. And so what they're going through right now is eliminating the worry, seeing what it's going to be like while she's still here, healthy and able to either jump in or modify the living arrangement. So so this is what I want to talk about. It's about moving out today. The journey. How long, John, have you been wanting to and asking your mom about moving out?
For probably like 2 years because that's how long it takes. It, and I think I can be more independent on my more independent some because I feel like I'm ready to be independent. And that's why I want to move out and see what it's like.
And that just happened a couple years ago,
Correct. Yeah.
correct? You felt ready yourself to at least try.
To try. Yes.
Okay, good. Jeri, does that kind of comport with?
It does. I mean, he started talking about it like 10 years ago, but not really seriously.
No.
And then 2 years ago, it started to get serious. Like that's when we really got put on the list. You have to get put on a list. And
What is the list called? Where does it come from?
what is the list called?
Uh,
Like a housing list?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a housing list, and they'll put you, in order for you to even be considered, you have to mark it as an emergency.
Do
And
you?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. It's just, but it is. It is what it is. So we got put on, like critical need. This is a critical need. Now it's time for him to move out. And the minute we did that, within the year, he came up. So we had to go into Washington, which is, our little city here in our county. We had to go into Washington. I had to go to the housing authority. We had to sit with one of the intake people and fill out all these forms for him to qualify for housing. There was a limited amount of places that they have. Um, Washington County is a very poor county, so there's not a lot here for people that are in John's position.
But wait a minute, you're in Peters Township, which
Yeah,
is in Washington County. But where
Correct.
you live isn't a poor
No, no,
area.
no, no.
no, no, no.
Washington is
Washington County is like
by
if
and
you
large, but
go,
your area isn't.
right.
no,
No, our
Oh,
area is not. But where the housing authority, where they have places, are in Washington itself. So we got called for a place right in the city, on the main street. Now, yeah, Washington's really tiny. It's almost a town, more so than a
it's
city. It
yeah,
really is.
it's
I wouldn't call it a city.
no, it's not.
So he's one block from the courthouse. Next door is a law firm. The
Yep,
other side of him is a coffee shop.
a coffee shop.
What could be better? Across
Yeah,
the street is a popcorn place.
I'd live
And
there.
at the end, across the street and down the block is my favorite little bar restaurant, the Union Grill.
That's where the Union Grill is that I haven't been to yet.
Oh,
you
you
trip up.
will when you come back.
I guess so, since John will be
Yeah,
moved. All right,
yeah,
now management. So, Jeri, correct me if I'm wrong. This is called Section 8 housing. It's part of the Section 8 family, so to speak, but
right.
it's for special needs people because it has
This,
management attached.
all right. So this particular building is for seniors,
Oh,
but they will also take special needs. So, but that
okay.
is changing. John is the last person to get in there that is not a senior citizen.
Yeah,
So that was one of the
Ah.
appeals to me, is that it's really a senior citizen apartment building, because he needs to be with senior citizens, because that's, that's his thing. That's his talent, is handling people with they're seniors. So that part was good. And it's a locked building. That was the most important part. I don't have to worry about people breaking in.
Uh,
It is a
Okay.
city.
No, that is really good. And I didn't know there were seniors. That is great because John, you're so nice to seniors. I mean,
Mm,
they could literally hire you to do things for them,
yeah,
like go
yeah.
grocery shopping for them or with them.
yeah.
Hmm.
You could pick up extra work like that. That's really cool. What type of management is there to fulfill John's needs? Either of you can answer.
So in addition, okay, so this is the building is under the housing authority. It is a locked building. It has a manager, a property manager that is on site part of the time. I think they have two property managers.
Yeah.
We only
We
met
only went
one.
at one, yeah.
And there's a maintenance guy that lives on site, which we
Yeah.
also met. So there's that. His services, however, are provided by Healing Bridges. So when when you register with the county as a special needs person, you then have the opportunity to sign up with these agencies. The agency that we signed up with is called Healing Bridges. There are other agencies that work down there, but Healing Bridges then will work with John and help to get him people to stop in and monitor his diabetes, will work with him on life skills, cooking, cleaning, help him get a job.
Yeah.
So right now, as we are waiting for a move-in date, they are working with a company called Liken, Liken, and they provide these types of services. So that's what his caseworker, case manager is working on right now.
Okay, that's excellent. Excellent.
Mhm.
John, do you want to add anything to that? Um,
No.
where do you want management, John, or oversight help?
Um, like paying bills because that's very important because I want to learn how to do it correctly. Because um when you pay bills, you have when you move out, you have to pay like water bill, electricity, that you have to make sure you have so much money in the bank each month that you ha could buy groceries with, and things like that. That's
Okay.
basically what I was thinking I would probably need the most help with.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right. Because, well, if I may, since I um, stay with you when I'm in town, John, you do your own laundry. You're perfect at it. In fact, we give you our laundry to do because you're better than us.
Yes.
Love that. Your room is always immaculate, so you're good at cleaning.
Yes, I am.
You keep things in order.
Yes.
Mhm.
And you know how to use your computer. You're good with your electronics and your phone.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. John, you requested something of your mother, and I was so I'm just proud and blown away that you did this. But you actually asked for a medical alert,
Yeah.
badge or necklace or however, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Because what if something happens and say like I pass out and mom lives all the way out here and d- I wanted to have it around my neck so I can press the button and then they could come and check on me or something like that.
And as I recall, if you fall,
It goes on
yeah,
off
it goes off.
automatically. Like if like literally if like fell in my kitchen, it would go, do you need help or something?
Like, for instance, recently when you fractured your foot,
Yeah,
fell while you were walking your dog Maddie. Um, yeah, that would have gone off at that point too, then for you.
correct. Yes.
No, that's really good that you were looking out for yourself. It was. Jeri, what are the things you worry? Let's just talk about how far away your house is from John's new place.
On a good day, if I get every green light, it's 30 minutes. If I get red lights, it's 40. So
How many
that's
miles is that? See, that doesn't reflect the number of miles, though,
Oh,
right?
miles.
12.
12.
12 miles equals 30 minutes. That's
Hmm.
incredible.
And that's all highway. That's all 19.
I know. Jeri, what are the things you worry about as
Oh,
mom?
safety, number one. This is I'm terrified that, somebody's going to come up to him and ask him for something and he's going to give it to them and it'll be his phone or his wallet but he's pretty smart about that kind of stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I still am going to worry about it.
Yes.
I'm going to worry that, I'm calling him and I can't get a hold of him. I worry about that. I worry that he's happy, that he likes being on his own, that he can function without me. Of course, then I worry, what if I fall down the steps? Maybe I need a medical alert.
Hey, you probably will.
Don't we all at a certain point in our lives?
Yeah,
Yes.
but my two biggest concerns are safety and happiness. Those are the two.
John, what are your concerns if you have any?
Um, it's a really good question. I think I probably the first couple days I would be kind of like lonely because I'm not used to being by myself. But then I would probably get used of it, um, and things like that. But it when you're in a new situation and a new environment, you're you could get scared or like not know what you're doing, but then once you get used to being there, it will sink into your brain or something like that, I guess.
No,
That's-
so good. Right. With all of us
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
in a new
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Right.
Yeah.
We talk about this.
Oh yeah, all the
We
time.
talk about this,
What
how,
do you say?
every time he would get a new job and he would come home and he would say, nobody will talk to me. And I said, just give it time, give it
Yeah.
time. Just be yourself. Just be nice, say hello to people, and they will come around and, he gets used to it.
Hmm.
So every new challenge is scary. And,
Yes.
but feel the fear and do it anyway is my favorite phrase. So we feel the fear and we do it anyway.
Yep.
Do you both talk about your fear together leading up to this?
Oh yeah, sometimes
Hmm. Hmm.
like recently I said I don't I asked her, I said, am I making the right decision or something? Like, do you think I should move, or do you think, you know? And she said if you don't like it, honestly, you can always come back here. And like that's like one of my biggest fears, I think. But I'm ready to try it and see what it's like. I'd rather like try something and then say, look, I can't do it and I want to come back or something like
And
that.
then you could just live with your brother.
Well, no, that's
Okay,
really
so
not.
there's a lot of fear that just went in
Yeah.
my heart when you said that. I couldn't
With
live
my
with his
brother.
brother. My nephew couldn't
Yeah.
do it. And I love him.
So do I, but I'm happy he lives 4 hours away. He's a bit controlling.
Yeah, he is.
I love the fact that it's a new venture, it's a big venture, there's
Correct.
fear involved, and that you both agree to face the fear. It's in a controlled situation, but still, I mean, we walk out of our houses, we don't know what's going to happen when we walk across the street, right?
True. Right.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So the cool thing is, and this is really the point that I want to make in this first episode of this segment, John's Journey and Jerry's, uh, is that you have to try. You have to try and to try while the parent is still alive is the best of all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Years ago, when I was working in staffing, there was a woman that I worked with, and she used to be, years before that, she was a social worker, and she would work in group homes. And she said the absolute worst thing people do to their special children is to keep them until they die. And then that poor person is left without a net of any kind. And what then? She said, you always should prepare your child for your death. So essentially, that's what we're doing. I'm getting him ready for the day that I die. And we have
Jerry,
certain things in place.
uh, I mean that was such an important statement. Say it once again about no net. Say that. Let's drive that home.
The parents are the safety net, the net for their children. Our job as a parent, whether it's a totally regular person or a special needs person, our job as parents is to make our children independent people that can contribute to society. And even though John is special, it's the same thing with him. Yes, it takes longer for me to get him to that point, but we have to get him to that point. So the worst thing that I could do, and any parent, is to wait until I die, and then my son has no safety net. He has no support system. He's completely on his own, and he'll flounder. So, my job is to make him independent. By God, that's what we're doing.
Whether he likes it or not.
That's right. Whether you
Yeah.
like it.
No, Jerry, that is really, really great because I have friends that have children that are special, and the first thing out of their mouth is, my greatest worry is what is going to happen to my son or daughter when I'm not here. And your point is so well taken. If you keep them in the house their entire lives because that's the most secure thing for you, the parent, who knows what's going to happen? You're not providing anything then for the future.
And so when they do say that to you, then you ask them, well, what are you doing right now to help your son or daughter live on their own
Yes.
while you're alive?
Yes.
And,
Yes.
John's friend, Melissa,
Yeah.
she doesn't even do anything without her parents, nothing, not a
And
single thing.
she's a couple years older than John, right?
Yeah.
Is.
They went to
Yes.
school together, they became
Yes.
friends. Okay.
She can read a little bit better. She can write a little bit better. She has a part-time job in
Yep.
childcare, but when her parents die, she will never have spent a day by herself, ever.
Uh-uh.
Oh, what about Lori's sister?
Ah,
Say
that
her
was
name. Say her name.
Chris.
Chris.
Chris has Down
Talk
syndrome.
about Chris. This is an excellent situation of when Chris's mother died, Lori got involved and made her independent. Could you do a little synopsis of that?
I'd like to say that God intervened on Chris's behalf because Lori, God love her. So Lori took Chris in, and it was a mess.
Lori took Chris in when their mother passed
Was in
away.
no, well, when she was in the nursing home,
Oh,
Lori
okay.
took Chris in because there was no one. And I kept saying to her, you need to call the county and get services and find out, because Chris and Lori could not live together. Lori is, she was just She has to have things a certain way. And Chris had Down syndrome. She was, totally different person. So they couldn't live together. Chris hated living with Lori, and Lori was not really fond of having Chris in that house 24/7.
But
So,
yet, Chris was living with her mother, Doris, all this
oh, yeah,
time
before
prior
that.
to
Oh,
Doris
yeah.
needing help. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So Chris always lived with her parents. And of course, her parents just assumed that Lori would take over when they died, which is exactly what happened. Lori had to take over. Well, and this is why I say God intervened somehow, some way. And I'm not sure about the whole story. If Lori contacted the county for services and found the Magnolia House, and the Magnolia House was a group home. And Lori brought Chris there and she loved it. And so she lived there. And then that group home closed. But one of the caretakers there, who was losing her job in the group home, offered to take her into her home, her house with her family, and keep her there. And of course, she gets money for doing that from the county. But it worked out perfectly. Chris is happy. Her name's Brittany, the lady. She's a nurse. Perfect.
Perfect.
The kids love Chris. Chris loves the kids. And it's just all, and when they go on vacation, then Chris goes and stays with Lori for that period of time. Lori has Chris for all the major holidays. She takes Chris to church every Sunday, takes her to lunch. She comes back and has dinner with her and her husband, and then she takes her back to the group home. It is a win for everybody. Chris loves feeling like she's on her own.
So,
And
why did Chris's mother, Doris, not look for an independent way of living? It was it just the normal way people think. Well, I'll just take care of him until I can't, and then one of the siblings, one of the
yep,
family will do it, right?
yeah, that's very common. Yes, but you're not doing her, Doors should, and they did everything for Chris. If Chris
I know
was
what you're
afraid,
holding back on.
Chris was afraid to go up and down stairs. Chris was afraid of dogs and cats. Chris was eating uncontrollably. Um, but when Doris ended up in the nursing home and Lori had her in her clutches, all of a sudden, Chris could go up and down steps. All of a sudden, Chris wasn't afraid of animals anymore. Doris and George literally made her anxious over stuff. They exacerbated her fear. So if Chris showed fear to an animal, it was like, and they just made it worse. And so they crippled her in certain respects. But when they were gone, then Chris lives with dogs now. There's dogs in the house. Lori has cats.
And the intention of parents is well-meaning. They think they're
Absolutely.
doing the right thing,
And they are not.
and they are not. John, can you add to what should parents do to allow their children with special needs to grow?
Um, I think they should have them try something that is a challenge for them and see if they can do it on their own and then help them. Because I think if you do it on your own first and then you say I can't do it, then your parents or your whoever's helping you can help you. My thing is when if something's challenging for me, I say, Mom, I want to do it first, and then if I asked you for help, I won't then I need help or something like that because I think that's the most important if you try on your own first and then say, well, look, I can't do this, and then just get frustrated at yourself because you can't read a word or you can't do math, and it's a challenge. I mean, for people like us, because
Mhm.
it's a like our brains don't um focus like learn faster than other people's brains, so it's kind of like it's either like I'd rather have somebody me do it first and then say, okay, Mom, I need help with this or something like that.
I've heard you do that.
Yeah.
He just did it recently.
What was the situation?
So
Uh,
I got this cutest little egg cooker. It's really cute.
Oh, that's right. I saw
But
it.
But when you put the eggs in, you have to pierce each top with, there's a little needle and you pierce and put holes in. Well, he was afraid to do it, but he did it anyway. He
Hmm.
did it. And now I don't have to do that anymore. He does it himself.
Yep.
Thank God a chick didn't jump out.
I know.
Seriously, right? So he'll take that with him
Uh-huh.
to his apartment. And then when he wants hard-boiled eggs,
I
there
get, yeah.
he can have them.
Yep.
Excellent. That's really, really excellent.
And
All
so,
right.
yeah.
I was going to end this segment by saying, okay, so we got some history and the thinking behind independent living now, which is brilliant beyond belief. You do not have a move-in date, right? When will you get your move-in date?
So okay, and this is what happens. Oh, folks, when you work with government people that get paid pathetic wages. We went down there to see the apartment initially and we saw it. And I talked to my caseworker for the housing authority, and she said, okay, well, you need this documentation and that documentation. Okay, well, I'm going to make an appointment to go down and I'll carry it with me when I go to see the apartment to measure it. Well, I called and called and called and called and called. And after 5 phone calls to 3 different people, leaving the same message, I finally got a call back from the caseworker. Her name's Dottie. She's very nice. And she said, well, I can't give you a move-in date until you give me pay stubs. Oh, well, that would have been nice to know that was what it took to get a move-in date. Okay. Do you have an email? Yes. Can I scan it and email you? Yes. Good. Done in a minute. So, and then the property manager who I called 3 times and left messages with, and the last message I left was, listen, I'm really scared enough as it is, but the fact that you don't call me back, that just makes me even more frightened. So please call me back. We need to see his apartment. So she did.
Wow.
Well, that was after I called the head of the housing authority. Then everybody called me back. And but they were
Wow.
very
That is
nice and I
great.
kept it really friendly because I depend on these people
That's
as
right.
irresponsible as they are. I depend on them. So we are going down Tuesday.
Yep.
We'll measure. I'll make a note of what is there and which is basically nothing.
No. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to totally furnish this place. And I'm gonna take measurements for carpets and furniture and then I'll probably go home and throw up.
Aw, it's so hard, isn't it? Listen, I'm across the country and it's hard. I keep thinking about this and putting myself in your place and in John's place, and it's just such a big deal.
It is a very big deal.
It's a
It is,
very
but a necessary deal.
And I just think you're so wise by doing it now while you're still vibrant and alive and you can make changes. So to everybody listening, I'm just in awe of this. There are other options in how to live in managed situations that we're going to talk about in the future. There are conservatorships. Now, this is for people who have money who will, instead of putting it in their will or how we're going to have somebody on the program that can talk about conservatorships. But I learned about that. Um, if you have money, then you can hire a company to provide a conservatorship management relationship, but it's a legal process. Then you have to file with the court, and you have to get approval because you have to manage people's money well. So you have to be a licensed person. So that's one other option, but it's still, where is that person going to live though? There's the money for an a choice of where that person lives, an apartment building, but you still need management. You can't just live on your own. And then there are the special needs trusts, which, Jeri, I think you have one
Right.
already, managed by your daughter who is in finance. So, that's good. But okay, so we're going to explore other avenues. But what we're going to do is document the journey of John and Jeri. through the move, and then John, as you're living on your own, and then Jeri, as you're living without him. Because the last consideration as I close this segment is neither of you have lived on your own. Jeri's raised three children. She went from getting married shortly after college and raising children. So she's always had somebody in the house, and there is a sound to that. Humans create sound, and you're used to that sound. And John, you've never lived by you've never lived by yourself, but when your mom goes out of town for several days, you do manage the house.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
So you're kind of used to being by yourself on a limited basis, but you have dogs.
Yeah.
So,
Which I will now have by myself.
well, but there's that sound. And so now you can't have a dog where you're going to move,
Oh,
right?
you, I don't think, no.
So
We
this
can,
is going to be interesting how you adjust to the sound of that apartment.
might have to get him one of those electronic dogs.
Oh my
No,
God, that's so
because I have
funny.
older people.
No, really, because we got one for Rooney
Oh,
and Easton. They fought over it.
Jerry's grandchildren.
I think it might be a thing.
oh,
It's too funny. All right. Well, listen, thank both of you very, very much for wanting to be part of this because this podcast was started because of both of you.
Thank
And
you.
I saw the struggles that you were having. I obviously talked to John, so I know what he's thinking, how he's feeling, and things he's involved in. We'll talk about your jobs on another segment, John, and how you got employed because you've been employed forever. Um,
yeah.
but we'll talk about that because that's another community I want to create as a different type of employment community. But I think talking to both of you prior to the move is important and then documenting through the move. So thank you
Okay.
for offering to be part of this. I really appreciate it. And I think millions of people are going to appreciate this as well.
I hope so. I hope we can help some people, huh?
Yes.
That's what we like to do.
All right,
Okay.
excellent.
Thanks, Judy, for doing this.
Excellent. Okay, I'll call you in a little bit.
Okay, sounds good.
All right,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this segment. I mean, so much information is going to come through this podcast, but this will be a very educational journey for everybody. And I am positive it's going to give people confidence that are on the fence to start moving out of their fear zone too. So thank you very much. And I look forward to our next episode.